I'll show you some videos of the printing which is happening over there, so that you can have a better idea before we go into the application part. And I would like this lecture to be an interactive one only, because applications I will talk only about which is a reported application. So if you want to take up your questions, I will go through a bit over there. I will stop and we'll have an interactive session. So based on time, I will cover that over there. One image which you have seen with an infill over there. The material here is some sorghum based material we have made, millet based cookies sort. We thought of filling inside with chocolate, so that after baking you will have a जैसे choco bites जैसे होता है, a biscuit and a chocolate inside it. So this is how the printer head moves. You can see it moves exactly over the previous layer, so that it follows the same line there. This is from the beginning, the first layer that is being printed. So it is important how high is that nozzle during the first layer printing. This base material here is badam, which is soaked overnight along with some sugar. We refer to it as marzipan paste. See, one layer is left out there here, because the speed is not matching with the extrusion over there. This got up to 2.5 centimeters. The z-axis height we were able to reach up to 2.5 centimeters. And the material strength is so good that it will retain shape even if you increase it here. And since it's a marzipan paste, we can, it's a ready to eat product. You need not have to cook it or something. So in this we will see only the applications, which are the reported applications here. We will see a few applications here. So the first one is animal based protein applications. So it's a 3D printed chicken nuggets here. You can see the shape which is obtained, and the basic composition here is refined wheat flour and ground chicken over there. So chicken nugget is printed. The second one, it's a whey based color changing ink. It's a 4D printing application using animal based protein, whey protein here. So this combines whey protein isolate with curcumin. So at different, here you can see on the left it is control, and different types of drying mechanism is used. Hot air drying, then microwave drying, like that, different drying mechanisms. For different, the top line is the percentage, for different percentage of this nanoprotein incorporation over there. For plant-based protein, you can see for texture modified food for elderly. The first one is a texture modified food for the elderly. Here you can see it is based mainly on mung bean protein along with rose powder incorporation and flaxseed gum. Flaxseed gum is used as a hydrocolloid. So it will act as a hydrocolloid also, and it will impart its benefits, health benefits also. So you can see the different structures which it is able to retain over here. Then the next one is a pea protein based application, where we have a pea protein and cassava starch over there. So for different pH conditions, it is checked. So for the pH 5 condition, you can see different temperature combination. pH and temperature combination is applied over here. For pH 5, 35 degree itself, it was very difficult to print it, and further temperatures, it is not printable at all. So it is not at all under printable category. So others, you can have different images over here. The best printable here is the pH 3 combination at 60 degrees centigrade. So that is the best printable one. So when you come to tissue printing, the most important that comes under food printing is cultured meat, which is called as bioprinting or tissue printing. So what happens in bioprinting basically? Stem cells are extracted from the animals which we want to grow. Maybe it may be a chicken, or it is from beef, or it is from fish. Stem cells are extracted from that, and these stem cells undergo growth in controlled environment and controlled conditions. For that, there are two types of printing which is available. One is for scaffold printing. Scaffold means the basic structure which is used to give strength. It is kept and the cells are placed inside a material over there. The cells will grow with the support of this scaffold. In body, what happens? We have bones and other things. Based on that support, the tissue grows or muscle grows. But if you grow it as such in a lab without any support, it will just fungus jaise badega wo. It will not get that strength. So to give it strength, scaffolds are printed using biomaterials which are food grade materials. So that is one area where food printing is used. These scaffolds are printed. The other one is once the tissue grows and you get a lab meat or a cultured meat over there, then that meat can be printed into an acceptable variant. Maybe you want different shapes for that. So that can be printed by combining the muscle cells, vascular cells, fat cells. A muscle is actually, meat tissue is actually a combination of all this. Then only you get that actual feel of having that meat product. So that is done using 3D printing then. So there are two main functions of 3D printing in cultured meat. One is during growing for scaffold printing, or after growth of that tissue for printing into acceptable structures, maybe in the shape of a leg piece or something, by combining muscle cells along with fat cells and vascular cells. All this has to be combined to get your final product. So there are a lot of advantages which is being discussed for cultured meat. Environmental advantage, there is no meaning of slaughter and all, it is all lab grown meat then. So methane production, which is all related to animal foods, that can be controlled with this cultured meat concept. So there are some reported research in cultured meat production also. One is your steak type cultured meat over there, which is printed using beef here with gelatin. So here you have to use some hydrocolloid which will act as a meat gum. So transglutaminase, like that product is there, which will act as a meat gum, which will combine those cells together. So you see the images there, that is what you get after printing over there. Before printing, it will be like this. आप एक petri dish में, it will be just like something grown over there. But to give it a shape, structure, texturization or strength to that product, 3D printing helps in that. The other one is plant-based plant protein enriched scaffolds. Scaffolds, as I told you, to allow the meat to grow in that. The scaffold can be printed. The third one is a steak-like meat, which is also printed here. So before the other applications, if I can take up a few questions or the question which I have given, if anyone has anything to discuss, we can take at least 2 discussions first, because I have applications only like this after that. Anyone who has thought about what you want to print, why do you want to print, and do you think that material is basically printable? 3 questions you have to present over.
So, very good morning, ma'am.
Good morning.
I'm working on like millet-based products. So, I'm thinking to if I can incorporate 3D printing in my with my food product, so I can make it like attractive for the childrens and for the other population as well. I'm not sure whether I can do or not. I would like to know from you whether I can incorporate 3D printing with my product or not.
Okay. Millet is a very vast term. What do you want to develop from millet?
Ma'am, cookies.
Okay. At our lab, we have developed a 3D printed gluten-free cookies based on millet. It's a sorghum based cookies. We have done that. So you can have a targeted population for whom you want to print it. So millet as such, it is based on the floor and particle size and all, whether it is printable or not. That you can decide upon, which is, but first to decide your raw material, decide your target population. To whom you want to, if you are saying kids, then kids less than 5 years or 8 years, what type of nutrition you want, what is the most prevalent deficiency is there which you can address by, you have to make the kids consume it if they are not consuming it as such. So that is what you can incorporate using 3D printing. That is more shape related, where you can give in a single product. If they complete that product, they have to get a sizable amount of some nutrition. So you target that one, what you want to incorporate in that, some incorporation will be good. And if you can get a 4D printed one over there, maybe something filled inside, or you get it something sort, when you put some water on it or sprinkle water on it, it will change color or something, you incorporate some color changing stimulus material over there. So you make it something attractive, which will attract the kids, which will have a higher edge on that, so that it will serve its purpose of attracting the kids. So rather than only 3D printing, you can think about 4D printing. What you can, if a chocolate is there inside, the kids will want it more. They will be ready to consume it further. So you can make it in shapes which is more attractive, maybe rocket shape, maybe bike, maybe car. Make it something which is more attractive. If you open the car, there is a chocolate inside. So like that, you can incorporate some innovativeness to that, so that it becomes 4D printed also, and it will serve your purpose also.
Thank you, ma'am.
You can tell your name and from which area you are, so that I can understand your perspective better.
My name is Samra. I am from Uttar Pradesh, Bareilly. Ma'am,
You are which student of scholar?
ma'am, I am from Nutrition Bio Department, MSc second year student.
Okay.
Ma'am, I would like to print a disaster relief nutrition pack. Like when we transport certain meals or things that are needed in the emergency situation, often they are not transported. If transported, they are destroyed when they are being consumed. So anything that can be printed having long shelf life and that contains the macro and micronutrients, so that it can give relief in the emergency situation and provide the appropriate nutrients to the people who are in emergency. So that can be prepared.
What you want to print in that? My first question is, What do you want to print? What should be the raw material base?
A raw material it can be the millet or any other thing that can be used, which can be extruded easily and can provide the macro and micronutrients, like any chocolate like bars or anything in the form of bars, we can print them.
I would request to be excused from this one because disaster management food is an emergency food.
Yes, ma'am.
3D printing is a time consuming technology.
Okay.
So these two things cannot go hand in hand as per my understanding.
Ma'am, I was talking in terms of like shelf life and all. We can make such
There
things.
is no proven concept that 3D printing will improve shelf life in any way.
Means
It's not a it's not a topic at all that is discussed ever.
okay.
Shelf life, 3D printing will not have any role in shelf life.
Like when we provide some cooked or like materials that can be destroyed in a shelf life, so like we can make the cookies or things that is that can be transported easily by with the help of
3D printed structures become more difficult to transport.
Okay.
We talk about personalized
Huh.
nutrition where over the counter you print something and give it to someone, they have it fresh
Okay.
with a targeted nutrition requirement or accomplishment that can be done.
Okay, ma'am.
Transport, no. 3D is a big no.
Huh.
Because shape, structure as such, it is difficult to print and to post process and to keep the structure till you consume itself is a question of research as of now. So for transport, no. Then there is no personalized nutrition in 3D.
Okay, ma'am.
When you talk about personalized nutrition, it's usually a local one.
Okay, ma'am.
3D is that is the problem or negative points you can say. Every technology will have a positive and a negative point. There is no technology which will have only positive. So these are limitations. Structure stability after printing and retaining it, and you have to protect it, them in boxes, proper boxes, fragile, everything. Because you are not printing a plastic product.
Yes.
You just print it and send it anywhere, it will be like that. So shape retention will be an issue, and that topic I may not agree with as of now.
Ma'am, I thought that it will have stable and long shelf life also, that I was not knowing. So I said in terms of shelf life, so that it
In
cannot be
discussion, there
destroyed.
is nothing right, wrong.
Hmm.
You say something, I may agree, I may not agree.
Hmm.
Maybe tomorrow you will prove that, prove me wrong. That is what is research, and I'll accept. Okay, I'm wrong. I was wrong on that day because it is an YouTube one. You will see it anytime. So I will accept if you do something like that. I will accept. Okay, I was wrong. Science has evolved. That is all about science.
Yes, ma'am.
Science always evolves, and we have to accept when we are wrong. At this point of time, this is my statement. And it may change after a year or something.
Yes.
When research is reported on that, or I do a research on that, or you do something.
Yes, ma'am. Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning.
Ma'am, I'm Dilshida. I'm from Kerala, Calicut, and I'm doing my master's in nutrition biology. So, like, I'm thinking, dry fruits. So it's expensive. So no, not everybody can afford it. So can we build any 3D structured dry fruits with the same nutritional quality? So keeping in mind that composition of any resins or walnuts, anything, keeping the nutritional qualities of that, we can print same structure. Maybe not in taste, we can't, but at least we can fulfill the nutritional needs so that it's
So what is the raw
affordable.
material you are proposing? I am asking you the raw material.
Like
You are
ma'am,
giving me a question.
yeah. Raw material, like I haven't thought about it. I'm just
Because
saying.
that will decide whether it is printable or not.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes, of course, printing something of that shape is yes, you can.
And also the nutritional
That will depend on your raw material, what you are going to choose. Whether you can print a cashew nut, I will say yes, you can print. I will restrict to that area only. What raw material comes and whether that raw material will satisfy the nutritional properties which is available in a dry fruit, that is a nutritional area. I am a printing expert, so I will say you bring a material, I will tell you whether it is printable,
printable or
what are the addition or deletions you have to do in that, add a hydrocolloid, give some ultrasonic pre-treatment, something which will increase the printability of that. Yes, printing anything of the shape of a dry fruit can be done, yes.
Thank you.
गुड आफ्टरनून मैम.
Good afternoon.
मैं प्रिंस पीएचडी स्कॉलर. मेरा वर्क एक्चुअली वेस्ट पे है और 2024 के वर्ल्ड फूड में एक्सपो में मैंने आपका 3D मॉडल देखा था जिसपे आपने मुझे दो ही याद है, मैं तो ऐसे बहुत सारे देखे थे, बट दो मॉडल, एक आपका बनाना पील का था और एक आपका शुगर कैन बैगास का था, जिसपे आपने उसके 3D बिस्किट्स में भी समथिंग बिस्किट्स या फिर
What is the first product you said?
एक बनाना पील.
Banana peel.
Yes, ma'am. And second is the sugarcane bagasse.
Both are not a product of Niftem K. Maybe Niftem Tanjavur का तो नहीं
No,
है?
no, no, ma'am. Niftem K, definitely sure.
Okay.
तो
Yes, what do you want to ask on that?
एक्चुअली एग्रीकल्चर वेस्ट जो भी है, क्या हम उसको फिर आगे फर्दर ले जा करके उसके अंदर कुछ न्यूट्रिटिव कंपोनेंट को ऐड करके क्या फिर से उसको एडिबल के फॉर्म में ला सकते हैं? अगर
By theory and principle, yes. One limitation which I can understand theoretically is that agricultural waste or some food product waste will have a particle size, larger particle size. If you are able to dry it and powder it and bring it to a lower size which is extrudable through a nozzle, then I am fine with that. Printer will be able to work. Printer only means what is the shape or what is the end product size, whether it is extrudable through that or not. Your printer only understands that. It doesn't understand what that material is coming from.
No,
So if
as a our department represent, okay, तो अगर वेस्ट मटेरियल कुछ है तो अगर उसके अंदर हम कुछ बैटिव देते हैं और अगर आगे कुछ उसका प्रोडक्ट अगर डेवलप करते हैं और वो एक्सेप्टेबल होता है तो दैट इज अ गुड ना.
yeah, I'm saying that is good. But only thing is your product raw material should come in a powder form.
पाउडर का कुछ साइज वगैरह पर्टिकुलर इतना साइज?
Yeah, there is size. Actually, at least less than 100 micron size होना चाहिए.
Okay.
That is one difficulty which we understand when we want to use these. We try to use pomegranate pomace over there, but उसमें particle size we were not able to reduce to that level.
No, डायरेक्ट सपोज अगर डायरेक्ट हम उसको एज अ रॉ यूज कर रहे हैं, नहीं उसका कुछ फर्दर सपोज ना जैसे कि शुगर कैन बैगास है, इससे सपोज करें कि हम सेलोज बना लें या फिर कुछ और अदर पार्ट उससे हम बना करके फिर उसके अंदर अगर हम कुछ ऐड करते हैं तो पार्टिकल साइज तो छोटा हो ही जाएगा हमारा.
छोटा हो जाएगा तो फिर प्रिंट कर लेंगे. कोई भी मटेरियल ले आओ, पार्टिकल साइज इज द ओनली कंसर्न फॉर अस. एंड वो सेमी सॉलिड, some powders, no, they don't have that inherent cohesion properties with them. आप कुछ भी मिक्स करो सब अलग अलग ही रहेंगे, which is usually there in agricultural waste. उसमें एक cohesive property होना चाहिए which they will stick with one another among them. जैसे rice flour is a highly cohesive material, वो mix हो जाता है अपने आपस में. So that is the basic properties matters. So or otherwise you can add some starch to it, something to increase the cohesion properties. Maybe by percentage wise you can add your waste reuse material which you want to use. That can be done. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Madam, good afternoon, madam.
Good afternoon.
My name is Tej. I work at a cancer institute in Jhajjar.
Okay.
We have around 400 patients. I'm very new to this, but I found it very interesting. We have a lot of patients, head and neck cancer patients, who have dysphagia. So, what we try to do is, we try to make a powder out of some nuts, which will be nutrient dense, and then we can give it through the Ryle's tube. Now, the problem was that we could not fine grind it. The pulverizer was not grinding it properly. So when I listened to your lecture, I thought maybe we could do a semi-solid diet where we can introduce this through food printing, and then they can consume it. And then if there are any solutions that they can fine grind it, we can also deliver it as a liquid diet through the Riles tube. So
Okay.
what would your advice be?
Yes, for dysphagia, it's a proven positive technology over here. For dysphagia, we can use it obviously. And grinding, yes, we can find some solutions for grinding it and reducing the particle size of these dry fruits which you are talking about. Maybe wet grinding will work better in that. You can soak it overnight because which you saw here, no, marzipan paste we are printing, that is basically only badam which is soaked overnight. We have an optimized formulation for that. Along with that gluey or that shining nature is coming from the sugar syrup. So if you don't want sugar for any reasons for the health of them, we can try to replace something with that. Maybe some hydrocolloids may also be replaced instead of sugar there. Yes, that can be done. That is theoretically possible.
Right, ma'am. The other question that I had was, you had mentioned that there is some agency in Bombay that Sugar and Space that makes these models.
Yes.
We are from a government sector where we have to purchase through this tendering process and all that. If I understood it right, if we buy a food printing system, the raw material that we have to buy will be a closed system. So they will define what raw materials the system will define and decide. So it'll be like a proprietary item list of those raw material items.
You
Is
are
that correct?
talking about the printer and the printable material, right?
Right, ma'am. The edible products which will go into the printing system.
Actually, as of now, we don't have an established system like this. Just like even FabForge we have purchased, they will not give me any material which they say that is printable. For demo also, they will bring some silicone gel and tell us ki this is printable. The problem is it is not in that commercial level. We told them you are selling a food printer, at least print using some established Hummers or something and show us. That they are saying, ma'am, you give us something, we will get technology from you and we will do the demo from your technology. Matlab, it is at that level as of now food printing, ki we don't have any established materials which you can say ki you purchase from the market, you print it. That is also one area which we are working on, where we are trying to work on frozen printable cartridges. We develop the cartridge, freeze it and sell it as a frozen product. So anyone who has a printer can get that frozen product, defreeze it or thaw it and then put it in the printer, print it. So that evolution is not available. If you get a printer even from some printers, they will not have a list of materials which can be printed by that, first thing. Second thing, even if they say, they will say these already standardized printable materials, just like I am saying you hummus and normal jam or peanut butter, they will give this list, which we are not interested, or as an end user you will not be interested in printing those products. So you have to research it and find out for your products whether that printer is printable or not. Or you can collaborate with just like NIFTEM or some other institute, so that together we can find out, based on the requirement, we can develop some printable products. So that can be taken up as a project or some technology transfer. Based on your requirement, we will develop it, that one, and give it to you. You can then purchase a printer and use this as an ingredient. We will give you all the technology, how that is that ingredient has to be prepared and printed. So that is the level of commercialization available as of now in India.
Right, madam. So from what I gather is that, like specific to dysphagia patients, like you said initially, that they always get only semi-solid, same variety. So we need to increase the variety. So right now, even that variety of different semi-solid diets is not available, that we have to create.
Yes, we
Before
have to
we
create
proceed.
the basic recipe for them.
Right, ma'am. And last question, what is your advice in a hospital where almost 200 plus patients have dysphagia issues, because they also get radiotherapy, so they have other issues. Would it be practical to get this, because it takes time? So we need to give diets to 200 patients 3 times a day. Would it be appropriate to use this here?
You can custom develop a printer. This FabForge, which I told you, they develop custom based multi-head printers. They develop. They have developed up to 10 heads at a time. So 10 heads will work simultaneously. So you can give a, maybe not all the 3 times you give a 3D printed food, maybe one time you give it to them. That itself introduces a change in their diet, a change in their monotonous food habits. Maybe one time a set can be given for one time. Another set of patients can be given in the afternoon. Another set of patients can be given at night. So that you use optimally the printer also, and you try to accommodate all the patients also. A plan can be worked out as a mix and match combination like that.
Thank you very much, ma'am.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon.
I'm Anushka Deva and I'm a medical student. Ma'am, do you think bioprinting can replace vitamin supplement pills? For example, vitamin B12 for people who are strictly vegetarian. And which is a safer option, pills or bioprinted food?
We are not, as of now, we are not in a stage of talking about replacing anything. We are, because it's a very in a preliminary stage. So the level or quantity in which it is prevalent, vitamin B12 deficiency, and the amount which is required over there, 3D printing in the near future for the next 10-20 years will never overtake that requirement. Because say it is actually personalized. When you talk about customized nutrition, personalized nutrition, it is on a smaller setup, on a smaller application level. It is not for mass production. We don't have that technology as on date which can cater to mass production or mass requirements. We are talking only about a closed setup or in a smaller setup where one-to-one interaction and on a customer based requirement we can give products to them. That is the aim of 3D printing as of now.
Thank you, ma'am. Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning.
My name is Srishti Shikha. I'm from Jharkhand. I'm pursuing my master's from CUH, first year, Nutrition Bio Department. I actually have two ideas, mainly targeted for children. First is, I think, fruit-based snack, because nowadays kids are more into candies than fruits. So I think mainly raw materials would be fruit puree, some natural sweeteners like honey or date paste, and for fiber, some additional fiber and vitamin supplements.
We have reported research on that. Fruit based snacks are there, but it is always open. You can change the raw material. It has been, as far as I remember, if I remember correctly, it was something based on carrots, avocado, banana and milk powder and all mixed karke it was done. It was way back around 7-8 years back paper. I have seen a paper of that sort. So yes, that when you change the ingredients, you are going to change and optimize everything. So you can change it to different, and the target can be different. That was a vitamin A enriched because carrot was higher in that composition. So you can go into something which is rich in some other product, or maybe some moringa incorporation which will have a higher iron and calcium content and all over there. Yes, if someone comes and asks vitamin A enriched, you give something. If someone comes and asks, just like you have a menu, you can have a menu which will state calcium rich, iron rich, vitamin A rich, vitamin D rich. So just like that you can have. So based on that you can change the base recipe a bit and give them that specific nutrition targeted product to them. That personalized component, yes, is possible.
And one was chocolate based snack. वो तो मतलब it is common वैसे भी, but something more nutrition based or something. क्योंकि
yes, in chocolate also, that is one of the easily printable and a proven product for printing. So in that also you can incorporate some vitamin A or vitamin D or something over there, and maybe one child is vitamin A deficient, another child is vitamin D deficient. The parent can get one for vitamin A, one for vitamin D for the other kid.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Ma'am, one another question.
Yes, sure.
How temperature and other processing things affect anti-nutritional properties of the millets?
You are asking a question out of syllabus for me, huh?
Ma'am,
Anti-nutritional tannins and phytins
Yes,
and all
ma'am,
you are
phytins
talking
and-
about. No, you have established methods for that, soaking, roasting, and all these things.
No, ma'am.
During printing, you are saying.
Yes, ma'am. I'm asking that during printing process, how antioxidant properties of the millets are affected.
Antioxidant properties. See, in printing, there are different types of printing. This topic I have not discussed. One is called cold extrusion printing, or other one room temperature extrusion, which is called RTE. That is room temperature extrusion. Another one is hot end extrusion is there. So, if your product is good enough to be extruded at room temperature, you can just print it at room temperature. Whatever is the temperature, the heater head will not. Some printers don't have a heating head at all. You don't have to heat it at all. The printer which I work for my PhD does not have a heating head. So what temperature you give the product, at the same temperature it prints. So it has no role to play in affecting your antioxidant properties in any of the base raw material. Another one is high temperature extrusion, or where the printing head has a heater attached to it. You can switch it on or switch it off. It is under the control of the user. You can reach temperature up to 60, 70 degrees or 80 degrees max using that heating extrusion. Other than this, no heating, nothing happens during 3D printing. So if you keep the heater on, I don't think at 60, 70 and all, it will have any impact on your antioxidant properties. So in general, I would conclude safely that 3D printing will not affect the antioxidant properties as of basically of your raw material, since the temperature, it's not a high temperature processing, or it's not a high temperature operation.
Thank you, ma'am.
Hello, ma'am. I'm Akanksha Chaudhary, research scholar from the Department of Nutrition Biology. I just wanted to know from your perspective that how consumers are responding to 3D printed food. Are they seeing it as an innovation or something artificial?
There was a survey which was done and reported is there. Some people accepted it as a new texture, new shape, structure and all. Some people blanketly they denied the concept of why print food. It is there, both the ways are there, that perception varies from person to person. So you have this extreme also and that extreme also. So the report says that there are people that I don't remember exactly the output of that report, where what percentage accepted it and what percentage, but there was a quantifiable percentage who accepted printing as a new technology, some innovation where new shapes and structures are there. But there is also a set of population, I would say, who is not ready to see or not ready to even try printed food. So it is a walk on the rope only.
So it can be said that people are still neophobic to this technology.
Yes.
Okay, ma'am.
It will take time because they have not seen it commercially anywhere. They are just hearing it for the first time, something like that. So when they see, taste it, see other people, peer perception also varies. When they see other people taking it, or things may change like that. That's all.
Thank you for the clarification, ma'am.
Anything else? So we'll continue here. So last 1 or 2 slides. So these are some of the printer bakery applications. In bakery, how they are printed, you can see bread is also printed in a heart shape. Otherwise, we always have a bread in a loaf or a square shape over here. Then we have an appetizer cake. Some fortified cookies are used, where bioactive plantains is used. These are other different bakery applications itself. These are 4D printing applications. We saw some of the color applications over there. Here some shape transformation is there. So with microwave heating is the stimulus applied there. So with microwave heating, the petals either they bend inward or outward based on the temperature application here. Then you can see potato starch is being used, which will, this is in this shape. On application of that is drying, dehydration is the stimulus. On application, the shape changes. This is also shape transformation. For color transformation, we already saw 2-3 examples using bioactive materials over there. So this is some other color transformation application. And that's it about the different applications.
So thank you very much, ma'am. You have nicely explained all the concept of 3D printing, and you have taken some examples of 4D, 5D, and even 6D also. So I'm sure our students and the GYAN participants are benefited from this, and of course this is a novel area, new area, innovations are going on. So we all are excited for this new research, and you have shared some your practical experiences also on 3D printing, 4D printing, and even you have cited few examples of your NIFTEM products also. So with this, thank you very much for sparing your time and coming to this in-person program at the Central University of Haryana. And now I request Akanksha to do the felicitation of ma'am. Please, over. Thank you very much. Thank you. Akanksha, कुछ बोलना?
Thank you so much, ma'am, for conducting such an engaging and insightful tutorial session. Your talk gave us a deeper understanding of how 3D bioprinting is shaping the future of food production, blending technology, creativity, and nutrition in remarkable ways. You have beautifully explained the fundamentals of 3D bioprinting and addressed every question with such clarity. I'm sure everyone here now has a much clearer understanding of this fascinating and futuristic field. We truly appreciate your time and effort in making such a complex topic so easy to grasp. With that, we now come to end of our morning sessions. It's time to take a well-deserved break and recharge ourselves for the next session, for the next set of interesting lectures that are lined up for the day. Thank you so much. Enjoy your lunch.